I was all in on this, and it was the first healing thing of my entire life. Like, it all made sense now. So really dig into that. So you don't have to be stuck in trauma or sick or sad or like, just, it's working. Be hopeful.
Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 137. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Today's episode, actually, before I get into it, if you like this one, please share it. If you like other ones, please share it. I'm trying to get more exposure around the show. We just talked for like 20 minutes before we started the show, so yeah. I have a sneaky feeling this is going to be a fun one. So many like mutual connections. Great friend of Mr. James Costello. We had to plug this because he usually listens. So please name and who you are.
Okay, great. I'm Mandy Stobo. I'm a visual artist in Calgary.
And before we got on, you're like, you kind of asked, like, do I research or what do I know or anything? And I'm like, I don't know shit about you.
Yeah, I know.
Which is
so
like,
sweet.
which is cool, right? Because it's you know, when I found you on Instagram, I was like, oh, she's an artist. I'm like, oh, she probably fits the show. So that's about as far as I go for research.
Perfect.
But before we actually really get going, if you look over this shoulder, Mandy brought with her this portrait of me. And so I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure. But now, like, the funny thing about bad portraits is now in meeting you in real life, I'll do another one.
Amazing. I got lots of wall space.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
but this is like, you know, this is super unexpected. As an artist, I totally appreciate the creativity behind artists and how they do it and why they do it. So for you to take the time to do this, I like really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So this will have a special spot in my house somewhere.
Oh, good.
So yeah,
they're my like sneaky little love letters.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing and like super unexpected. And
oh, good.
Yeah, so I'm very, very appreciative. Let's get into this.
Okay.
You've listened to a couple of these.
Yeah.
Maybe either to do research or because we know everybody.
Yeah, like, I know. I was like, oh my God, it's all my friends. I want to hear everything. Yeah.
And so, before we get going, what is it like to actually, like, these are your friends that I've had on the show before.
Yeah.
So to actually listen to the podcast in this weird environment.
Yeah.
But you know these people. So what is it like actually listening to it?
Well, I love it. Like, I love it. So like Dave Kelly is obviously one of my very close friends. And I know a lot of those stories, but not in depth. So
yeah.
I love that they had the actual time to unravel, you know, whereas like normally in our real worlds, we quickly drop things here and there, but we never actually unravel and share. So to like get to listen to them like truly is really special. So
yeah, it's kind of
I'm honored to be here. Like, I'm really excited.
And that's what, you know, what I also love too. Like when I invited you on here, you were like, I could feel your energy on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're like, hell yeah. Like, it was like, which is really cool because then it gives me more energy to operate in this environment. So
yeah, right. Yeah.
Which is, it's fun for me too.
Get ready.
I am ready. I'm like comfortable. Everything's recording. We're good to go. So take this thing back. I love to know like where you're born, how you grew up, you know, like parents, not parents, siblings, whatever. Like, walk it all the way back, and then I'll kind of drag you to where we are today, and then we'll just have all these like intersections of like, well, I went to that club and you're like, so I'll just take it all the way back.
I know. I need to see pictures of you back in the day too. Like, because I swear we must have been in this, like, I must have been dancing for you DJing for sure. So yeah, I'm 41. I was born in 83. I was born to like the best family. My dad's like, he's an engineer, he's an operator, but he loves it like I love art. Like, he is so passionate about it, which is very special. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but before that, she was like the first female iron worker in Canada, which is crazy. And then she had her pilot's license. Like, she was like such a badass. Yeah.
Where were you born?
Pardon?
Where were you born?
Here.
Oh, you're Calgary.
We're like, my kids are 4th generation Calgary. Oh, wow. Like, how crazy is that? I've lived, we'll get there, but I've lived in other places. But I'm very happy to say that. Like, my dad's grandparents were Boness, like born and raised Boness. Like crazy, right? Yeah, when it wasn't part of the city, but it is. Anyway.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
When it goes that far back, because
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures of what Boness was.
Yeah, it was like 2 houses and a river. Yeah.
It kind of feels like those like make-believe Western towns they just build for movie sets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what the pictures look like from back in the day.
Totally. Yeah. With giant gardens. Like anyway, it seems like a dream.
Did you know your mom was such a badass back then?
Yeah. She was always
like she was staying at home to.
She was always different. Like not in that sense. Not in like terms of I knew what ironworking was or like what it takes for a female to get her license. She was also like in high school, she was one of the ones that fought whatever to play in gym with pants. Like one of the like just such a cool girl. But yes and no. Like she always taught us to think differently. She's a very interesting human being for sure. And then the sacrifice of like staying at home when you have such passion is just like amazing. I'm a mom and I need to do what I want to do. Like I can't imagine doing that. So she's just, amazing.
Do you think it was a generational thing? Like, do you think back then they were just able to like shut off the world, just like focused on this family unit versus?
I think partly, I think she came from like not the best circumstance. And so I think it was a very protective and very confident choice. Like, I'm going to protect these kids and I'm going to give them what I didn't have.
Yep.
So I think, she really was very focused on changing that route or whatever. And then I have an older sister.
Yeah, I was just going to.
Who lives in Australia.
Yep.
And she's been there for, I don't know, 20 years. I lived there for a while too. It's great. Anyway, it's not Calgary.
Yes.
Yes. And then, my mom was like very, very protective. And then when the first kind of time she decided to like bring someone else into the home, my sister and I me mainly started getting abused in the home. So it was like a really weird thing because she was so protective.
Yeah. And
then it came out like, it started when I was 3 and it came out when I was 10. And it came out when my sister she was hospitalized for pancreatitis, but they like treated it as anorexia. So they were like feeding her fat while her pancreas was shutting down. So like it was like not okay. But because of that, she had therapy sessions and then it came out that this thing was happening. And so like, being a parent, I can't imagine like that feel. Like I'm lucky that I went through it. I can't imagine being the parent and finding that out and not being able to do anything. So that kind of like was a really big thing in our lives. And like, you know, it did things like I wouldn't hug my dad and like just like weird things that now as an adult, I just can't imagine my kids like, or that confusion as a parent, not knowing anyway. And then because of that, I developed like severe anorexia, which is kind of funny because they treated my sister anyway. It's like, it's a weird, but, and because the hospital kind of like really hurt my sister, my mom didn't want to go like traditional or like the hospital route. So I'd be going to like shamans and Reiki and acupuncture and balancing like every day of the week. But what I really needed was like a feeding tube. Like I needed a tube down my throat and getting calories into my system. And so eventually I got into the hospital and I had organs shutting down and I had no hair. I couldn't walk. Like it was really bad.
You're sick.
And then they had told my mom it was like, and that like, so that was in the youth psych ward, which is like, it's a weird kind of summer camp in my brain now, but you'd have like roommates. It'd be like a bunch of like super angry kids, like attempted murder kids, drug addicts. And like my roommate, she was beautiful and God rest her soul, but she like hadn't spoken since she was 3 and she was like 17.
Wow.
And never like not like had so much trauma that she just, anyway, so it was like a really weird place to kind of be an adolescent.
You were young.
Yeah.
Like you were young being exposed to
a lot. Well, and the first time I went, like I had such a beautiful life, really. And the first day I was there, I was like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be here. But I definitely was supposed to be there. And it was just like it was a very big, like, holy shit, the world is way bigger than you think.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in a lot worse circumstances than you. And yeah, so like start thinking bigger somehow. Anyway, so there was like a moment where they were like, she's terminal. It was during like a bed crisis at the hospital too. So they were like, kind of take her home, and my mom refused. And so then they shifted me to the adult psych ward, and I was in like high surveillance. I don't know if anyone's been to the adult psych ward. I don't know if you have.
Once.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's these high surveillance rooms by the like nurses station, and they're like glass, so you can see everything, and you're tied to a bed. And so I was there. And there is like, that's kind of the second place where I was kind of getting abused in a different way.
Yep.
Which was great because it led me to like eat as much as possible and get out of there. But also was like another knock. Anyway, so then that kind of, yeah, we'll just skip over that part. But anyway, so I got out. I gained enough weight. I had to get like to 90 pounds. And
How
I
old
got
are you
out.
ish? Like
I was like 13, 14.
Okay.
And then we moved to Cochrane. And I was starting high school. Like I missed grade 8. I was in the hospital for grade 8. And then I was like going into high school, and I had no hair still. I was like this freaky. I was wearing like Fat Records hoodies that were oversized, and I was still like 90, like still ill and had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
And then went to Cochrane High School, which I loved. So like Cochrane is it's got a special place. It's like 4-H kids and amazing band programs and great theater. Like it was just like this really special spot.
Yeah.
And I started to actually like get real relationships and friendships. And I worked at Dairy Queen. And,
We did.
Oh yeah. And I like fake. Like I took all my best friends and I sent in their resumes to my boss so we could all like work in the same place, and he hired and none of them were like, we didn't apply there. And I was like, no, but now we get to work at Dairy Queen together. It was amazing. I was in the kitchen, not in the front of the house.
Yeah,
and it was the best. Anyway, and then I was like,
Did you have to like when you got to Cochrane to high school, did you really have to like summon the energy to put yourself out there? Like to,
for sure.
Like to,
yeah.
like, was it almost like a restart or like a recalibration of some sort? Or like, how did you, as I'm hearing this, obviously, like how do you find it to actually move forward?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot about who I was and who I didn't want to be. And it was like, it's kind of a thing that's throughout my life, especially now, but like it was a good, like kind of fake reminder to be like, no, you're going to put a smile on and you're going to find happy. Like if you could see that dark in the depths, you can see that much light, And so like search for that. And I think, in high school is like figuring yourself out anyway, but it was definitely a restart. It was like, how am I going to, yeah. And I just wanted to like eat up everything. Like I wanted to join every club. I wanted to, just like,
do it all.
Just eat life. Yeah.
It's almost like you're like the extremes. You know, like this extreme darkness. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you kind of flip the other way to this extreme, like positive outlook, or just you want to experience all these things. Like it's just the pendulum is very severe.
Totally. Yeah. And I think I think it was like a way of me tricking my own brain to like get out of there. And then it continued. Like when we get further down the line, I used like my savings to buy Tony Robbins discs, like the CD set, which is amazing.
Yes.
Like it was like $800. Like what was wrong with anyway? So in high school was amazing. I played trombone. I was in every band. I
just picked it up randomly, or was like music as part of it?
No, I started playing trombone in grade 5. Like I love trombone, but I was good at it. And then I started
you were
playing.
Good at it?
I was good. I'm good at it.
My like junior high experience was, I think it was an option.
Yeah.
And I think my first year I played tuba, second year was trombone, and the third year was like percussion.
Okay.
I was...
And not good?
No, I would say...
I can't do percussion. I can...
But trombone, how do you just get good at it?
I don't know. I loved it. But I also could like somehow transpose like treble and bass. So I could play any instrument except for flute and drums.
Wow.
So they kind of used me in like jazz band and all the pit band and whatever to play whatever I needed. And it was an amazing program. And we got to go to like Seattle and Spokane, and then we played at Disneyland. And I had a euphonium solo, and I thought I was like such a rock star because I was like, I can get I just loved the euphonium. Anyway, so I loved
naturally good at all this. Like you just picked it up and you were.
Yeah, I just like it. I somehow it made sense to me, but I've recently like tried playing, and I'm not as good as I used.
do you think you were that good back then, or do you think you just sounded really good?
Maybe not. But yeah, I loved it so much, and then I started like really kind of flourishing and finding my identity there. And then I also was like such a partier and still kind of hiding from the world in that way too. You know,
like when you back then, like was there like help all the way through? Like when you get in high school, are you still like talking to somebody or like trying to figure this out? Or is it just kind of in the background that was
that was like life before.
No one knew. Clicked.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom did. I still was like struggling alone. Yeah. But nobody knew that world. And I liked that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to revisit that. And I wanted to kind of like really try and figure out who I was without it. Which obviously you can't do because you're a whole person, right?
And being a youngster trying to like, all those things going on in your head, like that's a lot to compute.
So I definitely overcompensated with like joy and jokes and that kind of world. Like so much so that I was the president of student council in grade 12, but I didn't like campaign. And I remember like one of the speeches I did the like, I have a belly button, like from Adam Sandler movie. Like it's just dumb, and it worked, which is weird. And then there was always like some darkness too. Going on. But yeah, at that time, like I had my own office. I was like, our beautiful principal had a bit of a addiction problem, and we'd be like hanging out in his office, like just different time and weird. But I like had figured out how to do that world really well. Yeah. Which is overcompensating, right? And not real. So yeah, it was interesting. I think a lot of people could see through that. Yeah. And I thought I was doing such a great job at making sure nobody could.
Hiding it, or just like...
Yeah, like seeming very authentic and happy and awesome. But I'm sure there's like a lot of people that are like, what the fuck is wrong with this person, you know? Yeah, anyway. It was a good time.
Did the music thing feel like, was it cathartic at the time, or were you just like proud to be good at something, or was it like the group of people around you that made it?
It was a mix of all of it. I loved that was kind of like my safe place was the band room. And when my music teacher, her name is Marilee Miller, and she's just the greatest, so Miss Miller, I love you. There was like I was getting graded, and I had transposed in my brain from treble to bass, like in front of her, not trying to. and played trumpet and then trombone and then something else. And she was just like, "You're awesome." And it was so authentic, and it just like blew a fire in me. Yeah. But at the same time, I was doing art at the same time, and it was kind of felt very similar. Like music and art I think it was when I was most myself.
Yeah.
And then everything else kind of I filled with,
just the
gun fingers,
the
and
extreme
jokes.
of like this like animal.
Yeah. So it was an interesting time, but I'm so grateful for it. And it was like I loved that it was full of cowboys and full of like it was just like everyone belonged, no one belonged. So it was like a great time to go to Cochrane High, which is awesome.
It's a movie, is what it is. Was there art classes? Like when did it show up in like?
Yeah, I always drew. Like my whole life, I drew. And one of my like big memories was, this is so bad, but I was like 5 or 6, and I had drawn a horse that was pretty good, and then I kind of like put the paper over the book and tried to like trace, and then I showed my mom, and she's like, "Oh my God, that is amazing! You're an artist. That's amazing." And I was like so shamed.
You like traced it?
That I traced a bit of it, but I was like, no, I am an artist. So then I was like, I'm gonna get good at this, so I never have to trace anything ever again. And it's just kind of the only time that my brain is quiet is when I'm making something with my hands. So I've always kind of leaned that way. I wanted to work for Disney. Like my dream was to be an animator for Disney. So I'd like have all the books of the making of, and like I loved the classic like background with still on front. Like so I'd recreate drawings like that and do paintings, and then anyway, I loved it so much.
Like hours in your room or wherever, just like drawing.
Yeah. I loved it, and it still is like my obsession in therapy for sure, because it's when my brain's not like.
Does it go
ADHDing quiet? Or totally quiet.
Quiet, and like just like when you're looking at whatever you're like working on, paper or canvas, are you just like if it's quiet, but are you like focused and know where you're going to go with this?
No, never.
Thing? It's just
no. I'm always like I'm definitely a artist that doesn't plan anything. So like with that too, I get to like paint over things and play with things and figure out. And we're changing every day. So I like that I can go in with no plan. But I definitely admire artists that are like, I know exactly what I'm doing today.
Isn't it's weird when you like artists or creative people are so interesting because it's almost like, I'm not speaking about you, but I'll speak about myself. Sometimes you kind of don't trust what you have.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing other creatives do it a different way that might be better or what just a different.
Well, and like how?
Yeah.
I'm like, how? Like I know the materials. How are you doing that?
And you're like, I got no chance at this.
Yeah.
Like how am I going to do my thing and turn it into something that's of value or somebody sees value in it?
Totally, yeah. But I think going through all this like brought me to that. Like I think the value in anything that we do as humans, if it's honest and actually you, there's going to be ignition there, or there'll be a connection there with someone else, because they'll be like, oh, I feel that truth and I need that in my life, kind of, or something. I don't know. Or it's permission for them to do the same, or
It's great.
Yeah.
Like it's very, so I've said this a couple times recently. So I've come across this lady, Sandra Wigg.
Yeah.
She wrote this book called The Power of Gray Thinking.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, it's that. It's like, it's instead of like doing something with the expectations of getting to this spot.
Yeah.
It's like doing it, trusting it, making the thing that you're trusting that somebody's gonna connect with it.
Yeah.
And therefore there'll be value and,
right.
someone will appreciate
cool.
it. So it's like the power of gray thinking.
Okay. I'll have to get
and so
that.
as you're like, but it's vague, right?
Yeah.
It's vague to trust that and then move down that path.
Right. But when you have no other option, it's kind of easier to hold on tight. Be like, let's see where it goes. Yeah. And then And then after high, do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Am I
this
taking
is your
way
show.
too long?
No,
I'm not even 17 yet. What is
I love it.
Jeez.
Like, you have no idea how much a conversation like this like fills me up for like weeks. So like, I don't care how. I'm glad you're not 17 yet, because let's just keep going.
I'm so sorry. I have like I get to be a speaker kind of sometimes.
You do?
Yeah.
Recent? Is this new?
No, for like the last 7-8 years.
Oh, cool.
I've been a speaker. Yeah, but one of my slides is I'm an extremely overshare, so bear with me. It's like, so I'm sorry to everyone listening right now. Anyway, back to 17.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Just kidding. Yeah. So yeah, Cochrane was just like the best.
Yeah.
The best. But then when I graduated, I knew I didn't want to go to school, or I didn't know. I knew I was different, and I couldn't, like, everyone I graduated, like my group, all the guys went into engineering and all the girls went into like Bachelor of Fine Arts or whatever.
Yep.
And I knew I wasn't fit for that yet. So I was going to like take a year off, I thought, or something.
Yep.
And then I started working as a receptionist at an oil company, which was like, I'd like fall asleep at 10 a.m. I was like, this is what is happening. Like the air and the lighting and like just, I loved the people. They were all in their 40s and I was like 18. And like, and then it got to the point where like I didn't know who I was so much. Like I would have anxiety parking at McMahon to like even get on the C train because I was like, what am I doing with my life? And then I decided to, like, I was always a snowboarder. I loved snowboarding. I would do border cross and like, I just loved it so much. So I was like, why don't I lean into that while I figure something out? So I applied to Panorama.
Yep.
And I got hired and I was like working at the Starbird restaurant and living with staff housing. And it was amazing. It was like an awesome thing. I got to ride when I wanted. And then I had some good tips and like we had no expenses because you're living in like staff comp. And it was awesome. But then during that time I got into another like set of abuse there. And so because this had been like happening so often, I was like, this is me. Like this has to be something I'm doing. Which I think a lot of people that go through abuse think, which is like definitely not the case. It's definitely not you. And like in later years, finding out that abusers, like they can see in your posture and how you walk and like that you're kind of an easy target. And so anyway, so I kept thinking that was me. And I was like very good at fight and flight since I was 3, right? And so I like immediately was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Australia on Monday. So I like called my mom and I was like, it was a Friday. And I was like, I'm going to Australia on Monday. And like, no, goodbye. No, like, and she, I think at this point was like very used to me being all over the place. And then I moved to Australia and I was dating this Australian at the time. Like he worked at the Hill and, I had this dream in my head that I was like going to the ocean and I was going to surf and blah, blah, blah. And we flew to Melbourne and then he lived on a farm in Witchyproof, Victoria, which is like 3 hours inland.
No sticks.
Yeah. And I'm like sitting on a toilet and a huntsman spider, like bigger than my head, like is right next to my face. And I'm like, and there's sheep outside and we have to shear sheep the next day. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like how did I get here? Like I get that I was running from another circumstance, but like I gotta make changes. Anyway, so then I decided I was gonna get an apartment in Melbourne. I still wasn't like looking at healing myself or like I was very good at like disguising any pain and looking at something else and like really tricking my brain to thinking that. So I got an apartment there. And it was it was a studio apartment. And this is when I bought the Tony Robbins thing. And I worked at this like Greek mafia restaurant. It was like so huge. And when you entered it, there was these 4 like Greek mafia guys that sat at the same table every day. Like you wouldn't talk to them. They owned it.
Mm-hmm.
You had the manager, Louis. You wouldn't talk to that table. And there'd be guys that came in and then they'd go upstairs or out back. And then the 4 of them would come back and sit at the table. And you'd be just like serving cocktails to like people and be like, what happened to that guy? Like, where are you taking people? And that was weird. And then my studio apartment was like outside of, it was in St. Kilda and it was like outside of Luna Park, which is like this really old, creepy amusement park. But the like opening gate is like a giant clown's face with a mouth. And that's how you entered. And so that was like directly outside of my window. And I was like, this is just like such a perfect, weird mixture of life. Anyway. And so I bought the Tony Robbins tapes.
Based on, why did you?
Because I was always wanting to be better.
And him, however he was messaging in the world at the time, just
this is like before. So there's internet cafes.
Yeah.
I had Nokia phone, I think, but no texting. Like still no texting at this point. And
was he on TV or was he?
It was on a TV. It was like an infomercial. So I'd get home from like the restaurant at like, and because they have different hours, I'd get home at like 4 and we'd open at 8. So we like a lot of us got into addiction and like, that world and just like to stay up and do a good job. And so like 5 a.m. his infomercials would be on and I'd be like still awake and buzzed and about to go to work again and like not dealing with anything and really wanting to be happy and better. And so then his damn infomercials and it's like only $7.99. And I was like, I've got $800. That's all I've got. I should buy these.
No way.
Yeah. And then listening to them on a Discman and like rollerblading, listening to Tony Robbins. And I was like certain that I was going to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Like after these tapes, I was like, everything is going to fall into place. Which it didn't.
Did they make any changes? Like, did it change?
I did win $1,200 on the lottery.
Paid for your $800 of CDs.
Yeah, great. It was a good investment. No, like I think the power of dreaming big is very still relevant, and I think either he helped me with that or I've always kind of had that. But yeah, it was like a weird little secret. It was that I had.
This Tony
like,
thing?
Yeah. Just listening to like good music. I was listening to him.
Cranking these rollerblades.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can do it. I am great.
Was that the first time that you wandered down the path of like trying to figure like self-help or like trying to dig into it a little bit? Not
really, because I had been so inundated with it as a kid. And like at the psych ward, right? You have group therapy,
right.
individual therapy, family therapy, like it just session after session after session. So I think like, going down that world and from acupuncture and all that I was always interested in like figuring it out. But I was also like couldn't figure out how I was tricking my own brain. And so that was an interesting thing. And then I just kept like hiding or transforming the way I saw running. Like I was running from myself the whole time.
Yeah.
And I kept like changing how that looked.
It's like a different tactic of running.
And then I'd get it like later. I was like, oh, damn it.
It caught
you
me
did it again. Yeah.
And do you think you were, did you know all this like in the moment?
No.
You were just looking for a solution of some sort and just trying different paths. And
Yeah. And I just, I think the deep rooted thing was like, I wasn't worthy of anything.
Yeah.
So like, how can I make a future with that in mind, you know, or with that like core? So, but in hindsight now, especially like where I am now, I wouldn't change anything at all, which is crazy because at the time you're like, it's just a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I thought I was going to get sponsored. Like I thought I'd get my citizenship naively. Like I was like, oh, it'll be easy. I'll just live here forever. And didn't. No one offered, believe it or not. No one wanted to marry me or sponsor me as a business. Isn't that crazy?
Surprising.
Yeah. So then I had to renew my visa and I was like, well, I'll just, and the funny thing too is like the whole time I thought I was going to like ride. So I like brought my snowboard with me, which is so dumb. I thought it would be like on Blue Mountain and then like go around the world riding my board. And
you had a plan.
So I had it the whole time. So I sold it and bought a ticket to Malaysia. And at the time I was like, oh, I might just renew my visa and then come back.
Yeah. Were you any art, any music when you're in Australia?
Not music, but art for sure. Like I had canvas and
it was with you.
It was always with me.
It was like this traveling part.
But it was weird stuff. Like it was very moody and people like it was like weird texture people like crouched or like look. So it was like it was a way of healing.
Yeah.
And I remember like one time we thought it was E and it was actually acid. And this is like so bad. I don't condone drugs at all. And because we were in that world of like, we have to open the bar. We have 4 hours. Let's just, it ended up being acid. And we were stuck in my apartment and the paintings were there, like these dark, weird paintings. And we were like all huddled on the bed, like terrified that these paintings were going to kill us. And I was like, okay, I can't make paintings like this. Like these are definitely from my experiences. And I don't want to put that out in the world. It was like so scary. We were so scared.
Do you have pieces of art over all these years? Like, do you have things from that?
Yeah. I like to, I changed a lot and sorry, this is going to be like an 8-hour podcast.
Fuck yeah.
I change a lot, but I do like to keep, like for me, I can recognize my, like kind of the golden piece in that series. Yeah. And I like to keep it or we'll let it go to like special people like Costello. As an example. And then I know he has it and then I can still get it.
And there's the truth.
I can still be like, actually, I need that back. But yeah, no, a little bit. And then, and then when I went to Malaysia, like I eventually ended up living in Cambodia for a while, but I had canvas in my backpack. Like I was backpacking, carrying supplies instead of like a t-shirt and food. But never did anything. Like I took it home and then painted on it, which is hilarious. Like just buy a canvas at home. But for me, it was very, like I knew I needed it. Yeah. But I didn't know what. Yeah.
Just to keep your mind, just to have those moments where you could just go quiet.
Yeah. Or like I maybe have a plan because that's carried with me. I just haven't used it yet. You know, maybe. I don't know.
Did you, like Australia, Malaysia, you know, besides like, you know, being a snowboarder and like doing it for a living, did you have any idea then? Or were you just kind of like moving in a direction with?
Yeah, just moving in a direction. I had no idea how, again, like how to have a future. Yeah. Like, and I had been so hurt, I think, that I like didn't want to be hopeful. But I definitely showcased to everyone around me that I was very hopeful and happy, you know? So I think that was, and I just couldn't see the pieces. Like I couldn't see how they were going to fit together. Yeah. Which I don't think most of us can until
like
they
way
start
later.
Sliding into place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome too. Because it brings things that, you know, that you get to collect along the way that you never would have had.
It's unsettling though to like trust it. Like my experiences and yours are wildly different. Yeah. But when you're like, as a creative person and things just don't fit at a young age. Yeah. It's unsettling.
Totally. Yeah.
It's like,
well, yeah. Yeah. And I think you get comfortable in like knowing you're different, but not finding a place to
there's
land.
no answer to it.
Yeah.
You may understand that you're different. You're like, okay, I think I see things differently, but
yeah.
there's no like different path that you just go down and,
No,
and things are
exactly.
going to work.
Yeah.
It's just this.
And it's constantly being like, yeah, what is wrong with me? And maybe I'll try that hat on. No, that didn't work. I'll try on that hat. No, that didn't work either. So like, yeah. But it looks smooth to everyone else wearing those.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's funny when you say it's like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Versus, once we're older and figure it out, it's like, no, we're just different.
Yeah.
It's just a different way.
Yeah.
But those different ways, there's just, you don't see them very often. So you don't know that they're actually real.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's impossible to explain really until you go through it. Yeah.
Have you been able to, do many youngsters come into your world?
Lots, yeah.
Does this ever come up, like whether they're creative youngsters or maybe they're youngsters, I don't know who they are, but these ideas, do they ever come up? Like, do you think youngsters can actually appreciate this vagueness or this grayness and actually trust it?
I think so. And I think like, especially for them now, like they have such a larger understanding of the world than we did, with like easy access to internet and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like, so my 9-year-old he's a content creator. He calls himself a content creator, and he's got like an editor friend who lives in Chicago, and they make videos on VR, and he knows that he's totally different, and he knows that I don't know. And then I get to teach like K to university. And for a while I was with Alberta Foundation of the Art, and I got to go into like Hutterite communities in small towns and kind of every school in Alberta. And there's definitely those special weird ones that know it and latch on easier to these different ways of thinking, I think now.
Like different concepts.
Yeah, which is great because I feel like that they have a better start.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just be able to think differently, or just like problem solve on the fly, or whatever it is.
Yeah, totally. And I think because there's so many new ways of like defining ourselves now, and that's kind of in their vocabulary already, that it's easier for everyone to sit at a table differently and be like, this is me.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
That's really cool. You can have those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lucky.
I know. Well, and I think like it means a brighter future for everybody, especially those little ones. Yeah.
Malaysia.
So Malaysia, I had no plan. I was in Singapore, and I like had a drink, and it was like $18, and I was like, oh my God, I have to get out of here. Like I have no money. And I went to this like hostel kind of, but it was like a jail cell, and the guy like there was like a mattress with like stains all. Anyway, I was like, this is just great move, Mandy. This is perfectly up your alley. So then I took a bus to Thailand, and that was kind of like my first major shock of like I've gone through a bunch of abuse, but on this bus there was like a bunch of ladies that were getting sold essentially. And I was like, holy shit, get your head out of your ass. Like we all go through such hardship. And then got into some weird trouble there. Lived on Koh Lanta, which was like a really cool little island. Have you? Oh, it's the best. And I like worked at a bar, and I worked at the hostel for a while. Like it was just the best.
It was a cool place.
It was the coolest. And I think it's like really damaged from that.
Is it?
I think so, yeah. So anyway, we'll keep it in our hearts. And then kind of went all over Thailand, and then ended up going into Cambodia. And I couldn't, so I landed in Siem Reap, the first destination in Cambodia, at like this orphanage. And this guy who was like a couple years older than me was like an original kid that was taken during the war when he was like 5. And his job was to put landmines everywhere. So now that, like, this was like 3 years after Pol Pot had gotten out. So it was like very fresh I hadn't learned anything about Cambodia. I had no idea like that's how naive and awful I was. And we never learned it in school. And like, I just couldn't believe. Anyway, so this guy was like, he had this orphanage. He would take in these kids that were maimed from the landmines. He had like a museum kind of there to kind of fund what he was doing. And then he'd go out on his own every day and like dismantle landmines with like a stick. And because he knew how to build, like whatever. Yeah. And these kids like had no, like they had lost limbs and they were playing soccer, giggling their faces off. And I was like, wow, you little shit me, you know? Like you've been so hung up on such little things, really, when there's this incredible world and always the choice for happiness and great perspective, no matter what you've gone through, you know? And so that was an incredible time. And the people were so hopeful and like so giving. Yeah, it was such a like slap to be like, holy shit. Yeah. Yeah. Be the best you can be. You've been given everything. You didn't go through genocide. You didn't go through any of this. And they're giggling and happy, you know? And then I ended up in Phnom Penh and I was like taken off. Anyway, I got into another spout of really bad abuse. And the embassies were getting involved, and I got shipped to a hospital in Vietnam after this really bad circumstance. And I remember when I got out, at the time, Cambodia had like tourism police. I'm sure they do now too, and like the normal police, which was still run by like Pol Pot's brother. So it was still like oppressed and weird. And I remember going to the tourism police. Like I've never gone to the police in my life about any of these bad circumstances. And I was like, I'm going to do it in Cambodia. And the only reason they took it seriously because this particular place was owned by a Filipino family, this house, this awful thing. Anyway. And so they took it seriously because it was like, you're on my turf kind of thing. But I was like, I remember being really like bruised and really just not in a good state and holding this cop on his motorbike from behind. And he's saying like Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. And I was like, it was just like such a beautiful, weird moment. But again, another slap, like, oh, you did it again. You somehow fooled yourself again. You thought you figured it out. Anyway, so then I was hospitalized in Vietnam, and that was like hilarious because it's like just a giant gymnasium, essentially, this hospital. And on the same bed, like you have to sit on the beds. There's no beds that you lie on. And on the bed beside me, I was like, I hadn't eaten a lot, and I was like, looked pretty ratty, but like it was still. Anyway, this guy sits down. He's got an axe in his head. And I was like, how many other signs do I need from the universe to be like, get your shit together? There's people worse off and better off, and like actually show up. Like, show up. You're not showing up. So that was like a big kind of aha. And then I came back to Calgary, and I had to kind of heal a little bit. And then as soon as I was healed, I was like, I had always kind of dipped my toe into acting too. Like I was like an extra in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids when I was a teenager or whatever. Anyway, so I was like, I'm going to be an actor. That's what I'm going to do. So I moved to Vancouver like immediately as soon as I got out of the hospital.
Heal and then just run
again. Yeah. And then I had an agent in Vancouver, and I worked at like a cafe, a 24-hour sandwich shop. And in between there, I like worked in Calgary. I worked at Bruise Brothers.
Oh yeah.
On 17th. Right? Yeah. And I had met a musician, and I like moved in with him, and then like ran away to Vancouver, and then I met a guy and got married like really quickly.
Oh, Vancouver.
Yeah. And this guy was really not a good guy, because why would I pick anything else? And just was like an actual sociopath. So like, anyway, we got married. He had like been sending emails to my family about like, she doesn't want to talk to you. She blames you for everything. Like all these weird things. He like took my phone away. Like it was just very isolating and a weird abuse. We moved to Nelson because why wouldn't you go to a small town where no one can get at you? And got married. But because of all the abuse and anorexia, I was like told I could never have kids. And I'd always wanted to have kids. And like a week after we got married, I got pregnant, which was like the biggest thing ever because I finally had this thing that wasn't me that I could value, you know? And then I had an excuse to be better, which is crazy.
It makes sense. Like,
yeah,
there's something bigger than you now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was young and poor and like, but then in my brain, I stayed with this guy because I thought, well, it's your child too. Yeah. The birth of your kid is going to change you for sure. But it didn't. And then I started finding out like more and more lies. Like he'd go to work and come home and talk about all these people he worked with, blah, blah, blah. And one day I was working at an art supply store in Kelowna. We were at Kelowna at this time. I was at Safeway at an art supply store and pregnant and giant. And like when I get pregnant, I look 9 months pregnant, like 6 weeks in.
From the get.
No, yeah, from the get. Like where old ladies are like, any day now. And you're like, no, 8 months to go. Thanks. You know, like bad. Anyway, so I had gotten off work and I went to where he worked and he always had the car. So I never like went there and they had no idea who he was. And he was like making up. And then that started kind of unraveling. Like he had an injury that he faked and was in an accident. He was never in, like just all of these. And so when I brought it up, he got super angry and he wasn't. And I was like in such a state that like if someone would come to the door, I'd like hide on the floor. You know, like I was just in such a depression and weird place, but like really wanted this to work. I don't know. And then, I found out all this stuff, found out some other really awful lies. And he got super upset and went to punch me and I ducked and he hit like the board in the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
And he fractured his arm in 3 places. So he had to go to the hospital. And he had like thrown Jack across the room. Like it was just bad. And so he got to go to the hospital. I had like 12 hours and I packed the stroller and the like collapsible playpen and the diaper bag and I left. And then called my mom and my phone was almost dead and I was like, should I go back for the charger? I was like, no, just stop and buy a charger. Like what is wrong? Anyway, so I met my parents in Salmon Arm and then came back to Calgary.
Had your mom, had she been a part of your world over all the years? Like were you like connected with her at
kind
like
of
various,
I was running
points?
well and this was like pre-internet, right?
Yeah.
Or it was internet cafe. So every 4 months I'd send an email and be like, oh, by the way, I'm here now. Like poor, I can't even, if my kids did that to me, I would lose my mind.
Yeah, you'd be flying.
And then because this partner had like, they believed, like it was from my email.
Yeah.
They believed that was from me. They believed I didn't want anything to do with them, which I didn't know. So not really. But then as soon as they were waiting, they were definitely waiting for the day that I left. And they knew it would probably happen. And then just the greatest, most giving family ever. Like, yeah. So kind of, I slept in the car all the way home. They took over the drive. Me and Jack like slept and then had a new world, kind of. And then I didn't know what to do. So I decided to like apply for bursaries at ACAD and send in my portfolio.
How old were you when you got back? Like that?
22.
22?
Yeah.
22 when you got back?
Yeah. Yeah. Like a lot. Yeah, I know. Sorry. This is going to be the longest podcast.
No.
No, let's just fast forward to now. I'm 40 and I make paintings.
Okay, see you later. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, but it's just like the reason you saw that facial expression, because I was like, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
At in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
At like a young point in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah. And so now like Jack's 18.
Yeah.
And I tell him he can't get married or have kids or run away or do anything, like live in your 20s in Calgary, please.
Yeah. Keep it all in check.
You need your 20s, yeah.
So you applied for bursaries, like?
Yeah, I applied for like bursaries, and I was like, how am I going to get into something? And I got a couple of scholarships and bursaries. They liked my portfolio. I just had like really bad like egg shadow sketches, like anything that I could think of that they might like. But I was doing like summer school and night classes because they don't have a daycare or any child programming. And then I was there and I was like pumping milk in the bathroom while girls were doing cocaine. And I was like, this is not going to work out. So like in the bathroom stall, it was like, like you've heard breast pump, right? It's like, I was like, I'm not.
Wrong place.
When he's in school, I'll come back.
Yeah.
So I left, but at that time I was like doing some weird dark paintings that were always kind of like an expression of, or like, because I go silent, it was a good way to see where I am at. Like I would never know what I was painting, but then I could look back at it and be like, whoa, okay, well, that's good to get out. But they were like dark and angsty, and my mom was a painter at the time. She was doing like fisheye architecture paintings. And she was in a gallery called the Artists of the World, which was on 11th or whatever. And she showed them my work. And this wonderful woman who's still in Calgary named Gail Gold was like, I want to take a chance on her. So I brought in a bunch of paintings. And she like leaned them up against the wall. It was during like an art walk or whatever. And she like, go for a walk. Like the director hated me. He hated the work. He didn't like me. Definitely didn't want to take me on. And so I went for a walk and came back, and 3 had been sold. Wow. And so I was like, she was like, well, now he has to take you on. And I was like, oh my God, this could be something. But at the same time, Cambodia was always in the back of my mind. And I didn't want to put darkness into the world. I wanted, and like art is very valued with sadness, or like it should have emotion and people need to connect to it to have the value. But for some reason, it's easier for people to connect to sadness or angst or anger than like humor and joy, especially in art, right? So I was like, how can I figure that out? Like, how do I put value there? And then it was just luck. It was right when Twitter and Google won and Facebook and everything kind of came out. And I was like, still not confident in my marks. Still kind of not knowing what I want to say, or like didn't have like endless ideas. And so I was like, oh, this will be a great, if I can't go to ACAD, I can at least teach myself something. Like, how do I get comfortable? And how do I use materials that I don't know? And I was like, I couldn't use oil or spray paint or anything because it was like rental apartments or places I couldn't get dirty because I needed that damage deposit back, man. And so I was like, oh, watercolor is something I hate. So let's figure that out. And then I was like, oh my God, these profile, like the other thing too was I had no community at this point. I knew no one. And I was a single mom, and like, how was I going to meet anyone? But luckily these things were out. So I was like, oh, I can connect to anyone. And like, I could literally talk to Tina Fey and be like, should we meet on Zoom or whatever? Like, should we quickly have a call? Do you want to talk to me? I'm like in my 20s and have nothing to offer you.
Take it a swing.
But I was like, holy shit, like, it already has, like, everyone picks their own profile picture. That's already them representing themselves. So it's like a beautiful, I can steal people's faces and start doing portraits and then sending them back over the internet being like, I think you're awesome. If you want to hang out or whatever, here's a bad portrait of yourself. And I loved the play on it. I loved the joy on it. I loved like trying to find people that I thought were doing good things in the world and sending them the thing being like, here's a high five, but it's actually a bad painting of you. They were like, thank you. But I loved it. And so then I started doing like everyone I knew, like Anthony and like everyone in Calgary that I knew that was doing probably like most of the people you've had on your podcast. And then anyone on the internet that was like a great philanthropist or entrepreneur or comedian or like anyone that was doing, I thought, joyful work.
Yeah.
If you have anyone in your life that's recently gone down like the weird COVID tunnels, they're all evil. But anyway, I thought they were all good and I still do. And I would just send it to them and say bad portrait time. And I also wanted to figure out how social media worked. Like it was brand new. And this was all luck. Like this is all timing and luck. And then it started getting like some attention.
Yep.
And then one day I did The Lonely Island and I did Adam Sandberg, but I only did 2 of his band members. And I was like, hey, Adam, I think you're amazing. I love Lonely Island. And he immediately like tweeted back, cool, where's Kiv, which is the 3rd member of the band. And I had like a circumstance of free time for 45 minutes. So I was like, so I did one of all 3 of them. And then I did one of Kiv. And then I decided to do 20 of Kiv.
You went.
And I went. I was like, here's Kiv, and here's Kiv, and Kiv, and Kiv. And he got it. And he thought it was hilarious. So he started retweeting it. And then it kind of got in the hands of like SNL and all these celebrities and Gordon Ramsay. And like it kind of started getting its own, it went.
Okay.
And then Forbes did a thing on it. And
seriously?
It was in,
Oh, this thing really went.
New York Times. It went, And then Maclean's did an incredible article on it, on this like spectacular, funny humor project that was on social media. Like, because at the time, nobody was doing art.
This is like 07, 08, 09, or when was this?
Exactly, 09. Yeah. It was amazing. And no one was doing it then. And then Anthony Davis, this beautiful journalist, did this Maclean's article. And I was like, who reads Maclean? No one reads Maclean's, but everyone reads Maclean.
Everybody.
And you should still and subscribe to Maclean's. But I was like, that's like a magazine at my dentist's office. Like, how is it? But that article came out and it went. And I had like thousands of orders by Christmas of bad portraits.
Wow.
Which was like insane.
How do you handle that?
Oh, I was like, oh my God, I can feed my kid. Like we were like, not okay, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the things with bad portraits too, I wanted to make sure it was affordable art because I was like poor and I was like, how can people collect art when they have no money? So they were always $100. They're still $100. Like I haven't changed anything. I still get like multiple orders a day, which is crazy. But at the time I was just like, well, I got to get these orders out. Like now that I have the money, I got to get the orders out.
How do you, like that really goes off, right? Like when you're getting that kind of exposure?
Yeah.
That's like a wildly different level. How do you, does your ego do anything? Are you just like very tactical about like, I need to feed my child, I need to do a couple things? Or like,
I think I was mostly tactical about it. I was just trying anything to, like, this was kind of my first future.
Yeah.
I have a future. And so, like, I I hope not. You'll have to ask my friends and parents about my ego. But I think it was the first, like, breath.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, everything happened how it should have.
Yeah.
And that's a nice healing thought, you know? And now I gotta fucking get to work. Yeah. So many drawings to do.
and I'm sure you knew the like numbers roughly, right?
Yeah.
You got 1,000.
Yeah.
They all take X amount of time.
Yeah.
That's days, weeks, months.
Yeah.
And then it's just go.
It was just go, yeah.
And just sit in your house.
One of the things about bad portraits is like they're fast.
Are they?
They're very fast.
Like what?
So I do events around the globe.
Yep.
And it's funny because a lot of events are like, so how many can you do in 2 hours? And they're like, do you think you can do like 1,500 in 2 hours? And I'm like, can you divide 2 hours into seconds? And like, no, that doesn't mathematically make sense. Anyway, they're quick. They're like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's now.
Yeah.
Then I was like
Yeah, you probably
trying.
still
It's more
refining it.
muscle memory now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was just such a special time.
Was that like hearing this for the first time? Was that like the first like real positive thing that happened in a long time? Like was that a big change in like, you know, not getting kicked when you're down and just like
Totally.
seems like that's one of the biggest wins, or
For sure.
yeah. Besides
For
having
sure.
having a
For
child.
sure. And then like there's something so special about being recognized with an original idea, you know, and being like, oh, I do have some kind of smarts or something. I don't know.
Like,
It's I am worth something, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was so special.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's wild.
Like,
It was weird. And the fact that it still lives on is just like I love it. I love it so much. But because of that, it kind of it got a lot of media attention too locally. And one of the funny stories at the time too, Nench was our mayor at the time, and his staff kept ordering him some for presents to the point where like I think he thought I was stalking him. And then Chima and I thought it'd be funny if we like hid more of his bad portraits all over the office and like in his car and like at his house. Anyway, he just was like for years, just bad portraits everywhere. And so it's still a funny joke. And then, weird stuff was happening. So then when we got the cultural capital of Canada in 2012, I got put with Michael Green, rest in peace, who was an amazing guy. And we got to go across Canada and like kind of represent Calgary and do bad portrait murals and portraits everywhere. And I've gotten to like meet Stephen Harper and Trudeau. The funniest thing with Trudeau is he like ordered 6 and he signed 3 of them and sent them back to me. Like signed 3 of my...
Interesting.
Just think about that.
I can process quick.
But then I posted them like a few months ago being like, I can't believe I have his signature. And then I was like, oh my God, I posted the Prime Minister's signature. And I was like, I probably shouldn't do that. And then I was like, I'm going to jail. Like, there's just got to be some point in my life that I go to jail. And I think it's from that. Anyway, yeah, it's just like weird stuff was happening. But I really liked digging my heels into trusting the path.
Yeah.
And I had to. Like, I didn't have another choice at this point. Because
you were like all in on this.
I was all in on this, and it was the first, just like I said, like healing thing of my entire life at that point. Like, it all made sense now. So really dig into that. So you don't have to be stuck in trauma or sick or sad or like just it's working.
Do you focus on that? Do you focus on that it's working and be hopeful, or do you just have not, or do you not have time to kind of dwell in the past?
Yeah, totally both. Yeah. I think both. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely do. Like I was still like single mom and kind of hiding my shitty existence, but also it was an amazing start. I'm
sure. Well, when you're having these like these pop off moments, you know, like getting interviewed and then traveling across Canada, representing a city.
Yeah.
Is that like kind of dark side, like lurking over your shoulder? Be like, fine, if they knew who I, you know.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I always kind of felt like, I don't know. Like Jack was the only one that saw the whole me, right? Yeah. And he's a healthy, happy adult now. So I'm phew.
Did good.
He didn't see too much, I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
So what happens then? Like, you know, you're traveling across Canada, you're doing all this stuff. Like,
yeah, and so I was always doing contemporary work too. Like always, like I love painting with canvas and spray paint and getting messy and I kind of love feeling like that sidewalk chalk in Mary Poppins where you're like jumping into something. I love that. So I'm also always painting. And I was at a few galleries too for the contemporary work. And that was easier. That was more a truthful expression of myself because I wasn't second guessing anything. I was like really raw on the canvas. And I liked to experiment with who I was. And like I said to you earlier, like I like to change and see that change. And one of my profs I think was like, you're never going to make it because you don't have one thing that you stick to. And I was like,
Fuck you.
Well, that sounds boring though, doesn't it? Like,
Yes.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just kind of all started happening. So like my business model now, I have like this weird funnel of multiple different things. I joke that it's my multiple different personalities, but my husband says I'm not a schizophrenic. No, I'm just kidding. But I have like, so bad portraits, contemporary work.
Yep.
I started getting heavily into tech and that kind of world. I always loved performing because of the acting part of things. So I do a lot of projection and performance and like Dave Kelly Live and any musician that I think is great, I will hunt them down and be like, I can do the visuals behind you. And I love that. And so that's all these different arms. Yeah. And then because I was in film and TV in front of the camera for a while, I fell in love with the crew, especially in Calgary.
I love how you just slide it in.
Yeah, well, that's funny too. Like I was like in a movie called The Other Woman and Jason Priestley was my acting partner and the director. It was a Chad Oaks film. And I remember it was like a very emotional scene and my mom had like murdered my dad. It was like a Hallmark movie. And Jason Priestley was like sitting on the couch, like the detective, I think he was. And he was like acting like this while I'm like trying to fake cry. And I was like, you can see it in my eyes. I don't believe in any of this. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it as an actress. But then I got to transition to art department. So I get to do, anytime they can't get rights for an image or something, I get to do it. And I'm fast. So they know I'm reliable and fast. And so I have like all these different arms that keep it interesting for me and also funnel a beautiful little business, which is wild. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you, from like 2012-ish or wherever to like where you are today, is it just like this steady progression of different opportunities that just pop up, or is it all, are you like looking for things, or are they just showing up? Like
a bit of everything, I think. I had another kid who's 9 now. So that kind of like paused some things. But no, I trust the ripples, you know? I really, really believe in being as honest and truthful as a human being as possible and stepping up with your best self and knowing that is every ripple, everything that you do is causing something you can't see. And so that's going to come back, hopefully, you know, like it has to. And I remember like, I'm always nervous. Like I'm always like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing next fall or whatever. But MBF, who's a good friend, was like, you can't not, like you've already built things. Yeah. You can't unbuild those. And those are already there. So like it's stepping from that spot every day. And so that kind of makes me feel better when I'm like, oh, November is pretty slim.
I got this.
Yeah. But now, no, I'm so lucky. I have so many different kind of places. And since COVID, I was traveling a lot and doing shows around the world and speaking a lot. And then COVID kind of changed that. And so then that got me back in the studio again.
Where were the shows?
Tokyo, Amsterdam,
what were you doing
Toronto. Those were speaking. Okay. And then the other were showcasing my work. And then I guess we should go to, so in 2016, Google, sorry, are you out of time?
No. Do I look like I'm like trying to pull the ripcord here?
Is it Friday? Has it been a week? In 2016, I saw this Google VR video of this artist in this program called Tilt Brush. And it was like exactly the Mary Poppins sidewalk scene. But she was like like obviously they had a green screen studio and it was highly edited. And I was like, how do I get in there? That is exactly my dream. And at that time, nobody had a headset. Like nobody had VR. Like computers still couldn't export any assets from like these programs. So I found this beautiful guy named Matt at Mammoth who had access, and he had been going to the shows in Vegas to like try out this tech. And I fell in love with it. So I started like making films in it just to try and figure it out because I loved it. And yeah, we had to bring on teams. Like you had to, every time you exported a layer, it would have no texture, no color. So you're essentially rebuilding what you've already built on a computer that you had to rebuild because none of the computers could actually hold this data, which was amazing. Anyway, so we figured out how to do these films, got a little bit of attention, and that's kind of how I got into the speaking world because it was kind of, they're creative conferences about usually coming from like web dev and like the back end side, but I was coming as a creative into tech instead of tech to creation. So it's like an interesting, I've met my favorite brains and humans in that world. And then through that, I discovered augmented reality, which is essentially just like layering onto a target image, another story or whatever. And I was like, oh, I can put jokes on my painting. That's the best use of this tech. And so I started like face mapping my animals, and they sing songs with Kim Kardashian, and like it's just so fun. And so that kind of AR got a bit of attention. And like New York still, I have shows in New York, and they're still like, what is this magic? And I'm like, you guys are in New York. We've all seen this. Come on. But it's amazing. So I get to like showcase that. And it's fun for me because, it could make it very, very beautiful. And like, I'm sure we've all seen the AR of like the Van Gogh Starry Sky where the sky is like moving and it's gorgeous. But I instead like to like jokes, because no one's expecting it. They're like, and then they smile, and that's like why not? Anyway, so that kind of was all happening, and then COVID hit, and then it got me back in the studio. So and now I have beautiful clients that come to the studio, or I sell work around the world, and I do a show out of my studio every year. I kind of had some bad experience with galleries. There's some galleries that kind of run not to make profit, to cover other businesses or whatever. When to each their own. But I had so many sales, and people they like to be connected. Like I like to be connected with them. And so when there's a third party, it kind of wasn't working. And so I don't know. I'm just lucky. And so now I'm painting like 10 hours a day.
No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And if I don't, I'm like sturdy. I'm like a squirrel. I'm like, I got to get in the studio.
and do you feel like you're just because of where does that feeling come from? Like why that? Like when if you're putting in that kind of work, like obviously the work's getting done.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, yeah. So at this point, like I am doing every side of the business. I don't have a big team, so there it is. I do have to work that much, and I am never caught up, which is amazing. But I love the discovery. Like I just love it so much. I love trying new materials. I love not knowing what I'm going to paint, and then I see it, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the next day I'll paint over it because I'm like, I didn't like that. And then I'll see it on my phone like years later and be like, oh shit, that was a good painting.
Should have kept that one.
Damn it. I just love it. It's like playful and joyful and
It's still quiet? Like is your mind still quiet? Like when you're like painting that long, it's like
Oh yeah.
Do you listen to anything while you're painting?
I listen to your podcast.
Oh. So if the work starts crashing.
And like and share. I listen to music. I try and go down. And then when I like on a long day, I'll like put in some like really trashy TV in the background, like Love Island or something. Something's so dumb.
Is the studio at your place or is it offsite?
Yeah, so we built a house almost 7 years ago.
Oh, cool.
We live in the deep south suburbs on a fake lake. It's perfect. It's a dream. And yeah, so we built the studio. It's the third car garage essentially, but we like
Cool.
extended it way back,
Yep.
and it's got skylights and lovely
Cool.
lighting. It's perfect little. And so during COVID, that was amazing because I could
Sure.
still get away, but be there. That was amazing. Yeah. Very, very lucky. And then I'd lock myself in there and be like, well, no one else is leaving the house, so I can be over here painting. Perfect.
Do you give much thought to like, you kind of touched on it earlier about like what's ahead of you? You know, like how does it, as an artist, how do you manage that? Because it's not, you may have done a really good job at having all these like multiple arms like you talked about feeding this funnel.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant, obviously.
Thank you.
And they all fit.
They all fit, yeah.
So
And that they're kind of like, again, it's like tricking my brain in another way. Like it's having this weird balance when I'm worried about this thing over there, something else will come in or whatever.
Yeah.
But future, no, like I'm still like insecure and neurotic and crazy and looking at like this city is full of, and not just this, the world is full of incredible artists, but like,
and now we see them, right? We see them like we're like,
they're just amazing. And like in Calgary, like you had
which one?
Maggie,
Maggie Hall.
Maggie Hall and like Lisa Braun and Chris Cran and like and I'm always looking at their stuff being like, oh my God, I'm never going to make it. They're so good. They're just so good. And then I get like, I wonder if, I wonder if I'll ever be one of those big artists or get into a national, never, like Chris Cran had like at the National Gallery, I think last year residency or something. Anyway, I love him so much. My favorite, this is a side note, my favorite thing is like late at night, he'll go and like my stories.
Amazing.
And so in the morning when I wake up early, it'll be just Chris Cran. And I'm like,
that?
yes, I made it.
Do you like
Chris Cran? I like took a screenshot.
And then you said this up.
Because I was like, this is my best day. He sees me.
So cool.
Yeah, but I don't never know. And like, I'm so lucky now that I can kind of create some of what I want to happen. So like I have shows in New York in September and October and then a show in Miami, but I'm like fueling that. Yeah. And that's lucky. Like I'm lucky I get to do that.
Yeah. Well,
and then we'll see what happens.
It's such a lack. There's skill, like talent.
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Well, it's like believing that part.
Yeah. We'll see. But and then I think if you never stop, like I picked up oil paint a couple weeks ago. I had a commission for a client, and they like were really kind of leaning more into oil paint. So I was like, yeah. And so I think if you're like putting more tools in your toolbox, always something's gonna happen. Or it has to, I hope. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting. So like, and now my clients are getting a little more particular, which is neat. Because I've never, because you kind of like start being like, this is honest, truthful expression. And now you're like getting a little restrained. But I like those, like with film too. It's things I would never do. Yeah. So I like to treat that as like education essentially. And like, I'm going to learn something from this that will be useful who knows when. But then you start losing kind of what your voice is. Yeah. Right? And so like always maintaining that, but also delivering this dream that you built that now is kind of hiding yourself again. I don't know. It's weird. So you're like constantly trying to keep that balanced, but...
Which takes energy.
Takes energy and especially when you like don't quite know what you want to say at this particular point in time or whatever, you know, then that's interesting too. Yeah. So yeah, it's a fun little game that I love.
and now that like when you say you love it, are you able to like, do you run all these scenarios in your head? all these things you're talking about, how you're like trying to balance it and figure it out and like try this and this is you're learning something here. Like,
Yeah.
Is it all in your head, or do you ever like write things down, or is it all just this?
No, it's mostly in my head. I write it on canvas for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like look at layers of my paintings, there's like, it's all there. It's all very, very much exposed. And then under other colors of paint. But, and I try and explain it to my husband, and he's just like, I don't care. I'm like, okay, well, please just help me figure out this puzzle. But I think that's what the work's for. I don't know. Yeah.
So it's just this like inner understanding of how it's all working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I love the goal though, that it always has to give good energy. Like, so it can be a problem that I'm figuring out, but eventually it will be a package that I can deliver to you and make you feel good, hopefully, which I like, because that makes me have to work through it with a positive light, I guess, instead of get stuck in a spiral. But yeah, I don't know. We're just figuring this out right now, actually.
But it's like, I think there's
how much do I owe you for this?
I got a painting. We're even.
Therapy.
The connection to your like clients.
Yeah.
Is it you said you liked it, like you like kind of going direct versus kind of having the third person in the middle.
Yeah.
Is it are they like, is it a mix of lifetime friends after that, or acquaintances, and some are just like an exchange of services, or how does that?
Yeah, it's a mix of everything for sure. And some people, upon delivery and hanging the piece, we're forever friends for sure. And then so, like I just had a giant like 70-foot by 6-foot painting shipped to Croatia, and that was just like 17.
17,
not 70. That'd be
like, Jesus.
Like wrapping around their house. And that's just a thank you so much, So yeah, it's interesting, and I always am hopeful that we'll be forever friends,
because there's a connection.
Because it's a connection, yeah. And like I tell my clients too, it's like it's such a big commitment. It's like a marriage, really. You're going to live with this thing forever, and then hand it down to your kids, hopefully, and then maybe you'll have the shitty kid that sells everything that you own, but probably not. It's going to be in your family, which is like such an honor. Like what a big thing to be able to do as a relationship, you know?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thanks for showing up today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This is like, you've made my day. And like, so I'll give you a little behind the scenes. People ask me, you're like out, you're kind of like living week to week, and people are like, how's your week? And usually people are like, they ask about the show.
Right.
There was like, so you have any cool upcoming guests, or who have you had on recently? So I seem to get in these like cycles anyways. When people are going to ask me about like, well, who you had on the show lately, this will be the conversation that I reference now. Because I really appreciate just like your honesty and the story. Like,
thank you.
It's cool to understand it. And that threw you off when I told you I do no research, because you're like, oh fuck, he knows nothing about like anything about it.
No, it's amazing. It's so amazing. Like it's there's been some like hiccups along the way that I thought you were definitely gonna ask about, and you didn't, so that's great.
It's just like,
that was really why I was asking. I was like, does he know about that shit? Nope. So we won't even talk about it.
We're Switzerland. No, I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate this so much. And then like beers.
Yeah, I agree.
Weekly beers.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay.
I end the show with one question. When I say Calgary, where's your head go?
I love the city so much. It like similar to Costello, I guess. Like it is the city. So I got to do this hilarious project.
I love how like humor and joy is like this driver.
Totally. It has to be. Yeah. But I got to do this amazing project of, it was called The Great Walk of Fame, and it was on Stephen Avenue, and I had to paint portraits on the tree grates. And if you know tree grates, they have holes in them. So to make a solid image is very tricky. Anyway, because of that, I got to like go into the bank tunnels and go into the art, like in the top of the grandstand, there's like just files and files of pictures and just anyway of history of our city. And I loved that it was like Guy and the Big Four, and they had like a jewelry, like one of their main things was jewelry and art, and then a bank, and then whatever, like the 4 things that they built or whatever, and then wanted to bring the festival, like the Stampede, to town to bring people here. And whether that's like still the truth or not, who knows? But I love, like, it's still that. It's still, you can knock on anyone's door and be like, I have an idea, but I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? And 9 out of 10 times, either they can or someone they know can. And then for art, like I wouldn't have been able to make it, I don't think, in New York or San Francisco or somewhere with like a huge, bustling, giant art scene in the same way, you know? I don't know. Who knows? But I love, like, I was telling someone recently, it's like Calgary's kind of like in its early 20s. Like there's so much ahead of it. And we get to be a part of that. And I think that, and we get to help build that. And I think that is the coolest. And I think there's not many cities in that same position. I just love it here.
Amazing.
You're amazing. This is great.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for the painting.
You're welcome. You're getting another one, though.
You do whatever.
Sorry, you've been exposed to me.
which is great. I am going to take you up on the beers because I think it's just...
Just the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, like when you're talking about the art, like, and you connect with those people that you're giving it to.
Yeah.
There's some times on the show where it's like
yeah, totally.
And then, you know, it's...
The rest is history, yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you.